Shabbat Shalom. This is Heidi Schneider, and I welcome you to Masorti Shabbat. And with me is the inimitable Hazzan Dulkin. Joanna, today, because it is Masorti Shabbat, I wanted to talk a little bit about how Masorti is trying to embrace the pandemic in Israel and what our communities in Israel are doing about it. 4 weeks ago, which seems like a lifetime ago, the Hazzan and I and two other Adath congregants, Kathy Orkin-Askow and Risa Kessler, we all had gathered in Omer to visit our sister congregation, Magen Avraham. And during that stay in Magen Avraham, Hazzan taught a beautiful song, and I have asked her to join me this morning to teach us this song. It's a good one to learn at this very difficult time. So Hazzan.
Thanks, Heidi. So the time that we were in Omer, it was actually we were studying the part of the Torah where the Israelites are building the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And the point of building the tabernacle was to create a space for God to dwell with us. And there is a wonderful traditional gospel song that actually talks about the sanctuary, the Mishkan, being something that you build within yourself. And so making ourselves a sanctuary as a way to welcome God's presence. So here it goes. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, to right and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Now with the Hebrew from the Torah portion. Ve'asuli, asuli mikdash, ve'shachanti betocham, va'anachnu nevarach ya me'ata ve'ad olam.
Thank you, Hazzan. So imagine, if you will, a congregation filled with native Israelis and a few Olim singing this amazing American gospel song in English and in Hebrew together. I mean, to me, this just encapsulates the story of Masorti. Masorti is open, it is inclusive, and it is inviting to different people's different ideas, different styles, different cultures. And I asked Hazzan to join me today, not only because I love this song, but because it's so appropriate to our Torah portion today, which is Tzav. In Tzav, we see the grand opening of the Mishkan, this desert sanctuary. And in it, we also get a list of number of different sacrifices that could be brought in the Mishkan. One of those sacrifices was called the sacrifice of well-being. And the Parsha describes this as a gift of outright gratitude or a gift of outright generosity. And I am seeing people making these kinds of sacrifices every day today. I know in our congregation, we have congregants who are giving blood. We have congregants who are raising money for food shelves or who are donating food to food shelves. I know of congregants who are dropping off medical supplies. And I know of one congregant, a fellow soul sister, who every morning gets up and puts money in their family tzedakah box. When the family is healthy, her husband and her children, she herself as well. So these are all examples of sacrifices of well-being that we are doing today. But In addition to that, every single one of us is doing a gift of well-being when we shelter at home. So all of us are doing these sacrifices of well-being right now. We could add all the extraordinary people who are not staying at home, our healthcare workers, our first responders who are on the front lines, the people who are essential workers who are showing up so that we can have groceries and we can have pharmacies and we can have our garbage collected and we can get our mail. It's extraordinary. I thank the people who are just staying home and taking care of their children or their elderly parents or someone in the family who might be ill. To all of you, kol hakavod, and so much love. But I want us to expand out beyond the confines of our own home or Adath Yeshurun or Minneapolis or Minnesota. I want us to reach out today and think far away to Israel, because Israel too is suffering from this pandemic. They're in virtual lockdown in Israel today. Israelis can go no farther than 100 meters from their front door. And that, I think in American parlance, is about a football field, which must be terribly difficult for Israelis when it is spring and they would much rather be at the beach or hiking in the mountains or hiking in the desert right now. On top of that, over 20% of Israelis are unemployed right now. And I think that's a figure that's quite similar to our unemployment rate right now in Minnesota. And then we add another layer for Israel. On top of this, many families in Israel have children in the IDF. Now, it is always a sacrifice of well-being to put your child into the IDF as a parent. And it's always a worry every day. But now, even more, an extra layer of worry for those families is that their children are not only on the front lines assuring the security of the state of Israel, but they're on the front lines of the pandemic as well. So our hearts go out to them, just as our hearts go out to all of us. We are all in this together. The United States, Israel, people around the world, we are all experiencing the need to give gifts of well-being in our communities. So since it's Masorti's Shabbat, I wanted to talk specifically about what is Masorti doing right now to assure the well-being of its community. The first example I wanted to give is Noam, which is a youth group similar to RUSY. Noam starts in the 3rd grade in Israel. It goes up through high school. And our older Noam students, our teens, are right now being trained to be phone counselors to their peers, because it's well known that teens will say things and young people will often say things to their peers that they won't tell their family members. And so they're in training right now to do counseling and just to talk, to be a friendly presence to other young people who need an ear. In addition, our Noam chapters are hosting Havdalah online via Zoom or House Party or whatever app they're using currently in Israel. But our Noam teens are getting together to welcome the new week with beautiful Havdalah ceremony and to allow themselves time to talk and to check in with one another. The third thing they're doing is they're planning for summer camp. Yes, all of us are dreaming about summer and that perhaps things will get back to normal, and the Noam teens are doing the same thing. Every year they host the largest and the longest summer camp in Israel. It's 3 weeks long in July. We'll see if it takes place, but if it does, there will be 700 Noam teens and young people with disabilities sharing the camp space up near the Galil. The second group I wanted to talk about is our program for kids with disabilities who are preparing for their bat or bar mitzvah. This is a long-standing program in Israel. It has won awards from the Israeli government. We know that kids with disabilities right now are very much suffering in isolation because they are people who need routine, they need familiar faces, they need things to be regular. And we all know it is anything but regular right now. And so our teachers in the program are reaching out as much as they can to every single family that has a child in this program to assure not only that the lessons continue, the lessons of course are important, but just having that familiar face on Zoom on a regular basis is so important to the kids and the families. And we know these kids are going to have their bat and bar mitzvahs. It's going to happen. It's going to happen sometime this year. And there will be so much joy throughout Israel when this happens. I should add that it's not only Masorti families that take advantage of this, secular reform and many Orthodox families have their children in our program for children with special needs. So our program has great outreach throughout Israel. The third group I want to talk about are our rabbis and our kihilot, our congregations in Israel. And frankly, they're doing all the same things that we're experiencing with such blessing here at Adath Yeshurun. The clergy are reaching out to their congregants. Congregants are checking in on other congregants. This is what being a kihila is all about. But I have to add that they are doing this on very little funding right now. This is always true of Masorti because Masorti is not funded at all by the, well, it's funded somewhat by Israeli government, but the Orthodox community in a normal year receives about 1 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion from Israeli tax dollars that go to Orthodox institutions, yeshivas, rabbis, congregations, schools, facilities for the elderly. They receive the bulk of their funds from the Israeli government, not so for Masorti. Masorti receives about $100,000 a year in a normal year, which this is not, from the Israeli government. So Masorti relies upon dues from its own congregants who are in hardship right now. They rely on funding from institutions like the JNF, which is also experiencing financial struggles as the stock market goes down. And the third is from givers like ourselves, donors like ourselves who have supported Masorti over the years. But whether it's good times financially or bad times financially, whether it's good health or bad health, our kihilot and our Masorti rabbis are there to embody what it means to be a sanctuary. They're there holding out blessings for their congregants and for Israel at large. And just as we are all preparing to be a sanctuary so that we can give our gifts of well-being to the community, so that we can receive gifts of well-being as we need them, we hope too to be tried and true sanctuaries, to do our own outreach and to receive at this difficult time. I'm going to do another video with more information about our trip to Magen Avraham, but I want to close this one with a Shabbat Shalom, and I want to invite Hazzan to lead us again in singing this beautiful prayer for preparation to be a sanctuary.
What a beautiful message. Thank you, Heidi. We're going to begin this time in the Hebrew. Ve'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'tocham. God says, make me a sanctuary and I will dwell with you. And then the last lines of the Ashrei prayer, Va'anachnu nevarech ya me'ata ve'ad olam. Let us all praise God together, now and going forward. Ve'asu li mikdash ve'shachanti betocham va'anachnu nevarech ya me'ata ve'ad olam. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Shabbat Shalom.